Brazil! Yes!
Fara. Isn't it called Fara?
Farofa?
Farofa. It would begin with an F.
Oh, the soccer player, what's his name?
Pelé.
Lá pelos 1900, meu bisavô se casou com minha bisavó. Eles tiveram 6 filhos. Esses 6 filhos tiveram vários outros filhos. Todos esses primos, todos hoje 78 a 84 anos, agora se reuniram aqui em Jamestown, Rhode Island, junto com muitos filhos deles e muitos netos. É uma family reunion, como a gente diz aqui nos Estados Unidos. E eu aproveitei para entrevistar todo mundo sobre o Brasil.
Please state your relationship to me. Connect us via our relatives.
Your grandmother and my grandfather were brothers and sisters.
My father, Sidney, was the brother of your grandmother.
Your great-grandfather and my grandmother were brother and sister.
Cool.
Here we go. Have you ever been to Brazil? Please tell us more if you have.
Yes! Brazil! Yes!
I have not.
No.
I have not.
No.
No.
You look so sad.
I studied Portuguese at Yale, and they teach Brazilian Portuguese.
One of my favorite places on earth.
Yeah, so I have been to Brazil for about 2 weeks on vacation with my cousin, your cousin as well. We went to Rio, Florianopolis, and Salvador. Had a great vacation. Mostly involved a lot of drinking and time at the beach.
Well, it was probably 15 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago.
We were in Peace Corps, Cuerpo de Paz, in Venezuela, por eso. So we lived in Caracas for 2 years during the 67 to 69. And there was a conference, an international conference for Peace Corps people. And I think you could go to Panama or Rio. And we like, oh, Panama? Rio? We're gone. I spoke Spanish. I didn't speak, any Portuguese at all. But I seemed to get along okay. I would take buses, and it would be like 16,000 cruceros, which was maybe 3 cents, to take a bus from wherever I was going to Copacabana, and I would go to the beach, and I just sort of explored the city. Just a minute.
Uh-oh.
I've got something for Rio.
What?
That stone.
Hold this up to the camera.
Yes. They told me it was an emerald. I believed him, but it was a tourmaline, and I love it.
I have. I think just about 1 year ago today. On the front end, we spent 3 days in Rio de Janeiro, then 9 days in the Pantanal. Best safari experience outside of Africa. I think we saw 7 different jaguars in 9 days.
I went on a business trip I was probably in my 30s.
I mean, mostly business, I suppose, but was there anything fun involved?
What do I remember about Sao Paulo is the store Melissa's, where you can get shoes that smell like bubblegum.
I've never heard of this.
Oh, this is I walked away so happy. They only sell plastic shoes, and they always smell like bubblegum.
I've been to Brazil twice. My son lived in Brazil for a year when he was 19 years old, and I visited him in Brazil once myself, and then a second visit later in the year with my wife.
Why did you let your son go to Brazil, or was it not your choice?
Well, he was 19 years old, so there wasn't a lot of letting to be done. But I didn't oppose it. I thought it was a great idea.
Eu morei no Brasil no ano 2000. Eu morei no Rio para 8 meses.
Como intercâmbio?
Eu fiz o que se chama gap year.
Do you know how to say anything in Portuguese?
I do not.
No.
Well, I can say gringo.
Perfect. Very good.
Obrigado.
Whoa, that's pretty good. That's it, though.
That's it. But that goes a long way.
No.
I do, tudo bem.
Anything else?
Obrigada.
Obrigado.
Anything else? That's basically what several other people have said.
Praia.
Oh!
Eu falo pouco. Estudei na universidade.
I think I was up to 10 words in 2004. I think I could only say the words that sound a lot like Spanish, and I can't remember what those are.
I don't think I do. Which is pretty bad. Churrascaria?
That's good, churrascaria. What are the first things that come to mind when you think of Brazil?
Music, beautiful people, mixture of cultures. São Salvador da Bahia, where I've always wanted to go. Jorge Amado, Candomblé. One of my favorite books was Dona Flor. He says dois maridos.
I think of a beach and maybe a pina colada with a slice of pineapple.
Magical cities like Ipanema, São Paulo, Rio. I think of the Amazon. There's so many places in Brazil because of the size of the country that it's so magical and so different in so many different areas.
Wonderful people who are joyous, and beautiful scenery, and delicious fruit available all the time.
Warm places, like good food.
Pão de queijo.
Wow. A primeira coisa é pão de queijo.
A praia.
Peraí. Pão de queijo por quê? Porque pão de queijo é tão bom que...
É porque é tão bom. E também eu fiz aulas de português antes que eu fui a primeira vez. E a minha professora me deu pão de queijo. Então, para mim, pão de queijo tem muito significado junto com o Brasil.
Like jungle and forest, and I think of like the role of Brazil in producing the air we breathe. I also think about the idea, and I'm not sure if this is still true, that there are tribes living in remote parts of Brazil that like haven't even had contact with like modern man.
The dendê oil. We had a lobster moqueca at a place that was known for moquecas, and it's possible I got a bad piece of lobster, but whatever it was, it might have been, I've always thought the dendê oil, it set me back for a couple days where I had to just remain in my hotel room. And then after that, I had trouble walking around town because the smell of the dendê oil was a little pungent.
When I was in 5th grade, I did a report on Brazil in Amazonas. And so I had these maps that I'd cut things out. So, I mean, literally, that's how I learned about Brazil originally.
Soccer, or like the soccer player Pelé.
One of the first things that comes to mind is taking that tram up to the top of the mountain at Rio, in Rio.
Christ
and just what a picturesque place.
Unbelievable, right?
Unbelievable. I mean, really a one-of-a-kind place in the world.
I think before traveling to Brazil, I would say predominantly it was Rio, it was Carnival, it was football, it was beaches, scantily clad women. Now having been to Brazil, it's my understanding that Rio is more of the Las Vegas or Miami of Brazil, and outside of that one city, it's a very mix of different cultures, but it's much more than Rio.
Beautiful people. For me, I felt like I saw the most beautiful person in the world when I was in Rio de Janeiro. I was coming down for my business meeting I was staying at the Hotel Falam, which is such a sexy hotel to begin with. And then
Fasano?
Fasano, yeah. I was coming down all dressed for business, and doors open to the lobby to the most stunning, shirtless man coming off the beach from his run. I was like, ah! I'm like, I need to move here.
Wow. And yet you didn't.
No.
Would you like to visit Brazil? And what are the pros and cons of that like?
From what I've heard of it, it's really nice. People like it. I think it's warm. I think there's good beaches. I love beaches.
Yeah, I would love to go there. And I do think it's very likely that I'll go there someday. If I didn't go there, it would be because in the big cities there's a perception of like high amount of crime.
I would love to visit Brazil. It's more of a surprised that I haven't visited already. You know, when I went to Portugal and spoke, they would say, "Oh, você é uma brasileira," because that's the Portuguese pronunciation.
I would love to visit Brazil, and I guess something I really would like to do is like go all around down in South America. So that I'd say I have a decent chance of going to Brazil.
Do you know personally any Brazilians?
Is Seth Kugel Brazilian now?
Someone at my school claimed to be Brazilian, but I don't really believe it.
Why not?
Because a lot of their friends say, like, no, she's not telling the truth. She's just, like, wants it for attention, apparently.
I do not know any Brazilians.
I have met some of Seth's friends, but I also have two lovely women who help me take care of my apartment who are Brazilian. And I used to work at a place where we had a lot of Brazilian students.
I guess I do. There are Brazilians in the United States that I know, either because they've worked for me as carpenters or house cleaners, or because I've represented them in my work as a divorce lawyer.
Claro que conheço vários brasileiros. Eu estou em contato com as pessoas no Brasil. Eu não conheço tanto brasileiro aqui nos Estados Unidos. Eu estava namorando uma brasileira faz alguns anos. Agora estou casado com uma mulher que é muito boa pessoa, mas não é brasileira.
Qual a diferença entre ela e uma brasileira?
Eu não sei se eu posso responder a isso.
I grew up sailing a fair amount internationally, so we sailed against a fair amount of Brazilians.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I don't think I ever sailed in South America, but sailed against many Brazilians growing up. And then a former coworker was from Brazil. A friend of mine, his wife's Brazilian, so.
Like kind of. I have a couple friends that are Brazilian.
Well, so then you definitely do know Brazilian people, but they live in New York.
Yeah.
Were they born in Brazil?
No.
So they're like the kids of Brazilian immigrants.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see what you mean by kind of. Are there any Brazilians, like famous Brazilians, that you've heard of?
Is it Giselle, who is married to Tom Brady, the football player, is a well-known supermodel who is from Brazil, I believe.
Correct.
Stan Getz was married to Astrud Gilberto, I believe. Or not married to her, but I think they recorded together the famous musical rendition of The Girl from Ipanema.
Well, the obvious, of course, is Pelé.
It's not as obvious as you think, considering I've now interviewed 3 people and you're the first to know it.
That's interesting because it's obvious to me. Although I did have to stop to think to be sure that he was not Diego Maradona, the Argentinian.
Yes, that could get you in trouble.
I don't.
Have you ever heard of Pelé?
I think so.
Eu gosto muito da música de Gilberto Gil. Eu fiquei escutando muito dessa álbum. Refazenda e Refavela são 2 de minhas favoritas.
Probably I think of soccer, but I couldn't name a soccer player.
Can you name a soccer player that has a one-word name?
Pelé?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think Pele is Brazilian.
Yes,
so.
Pelé is Brazilian.
Oh, okay, good. Jaime Lerner. I know Jaime Lerner. I've gone to see him. He was the mayor of Curitiba, and then ultimately, I think, the governor of that state.
Yeah, Paraná.
He came to Seattle a couple times, and I went to see him speak. He was amazing.
Bolsonaro,
Jorge
Calasan's
Amado.
Neto, an artist, Jorge Amado.
Athletes, perhaps.
Oh, Pelé. No, is he?
Yeah.
Pelé wasn't Brazilian, was he?
Yes, he was.
From Bahia or not?
I feel like Pelé's from Três Corações, Minas Gerais.
I met Pelé at a New York City nightclub owned by the father of a friend of mine.
The soccer player, what's his name? Pelé.
One of the best sailors ever, Robert Scheidt, a laser sailor. I think he won like 3 gold medals.
What's the last thing or things you've heard in the news about Brazil?
The Amazon is on fire, or just the Amazon generally, usually around deforestation. Or the president doing, sort of Trump of the South, doing, crazy things around COVID and all of that.
Trump of the tropics.
Trump of the tropics.
I suppose some story or another about Bolsonaro.
Are you aware of when his term is over?
Fairly soon. It's a 4-year term, I think.
Yeah.
And I wonder, first, will he be defeated if he runs for re-election? Secondly, will it be a fair and accurate election? And third, if it is, if the answer to both of those is yes, will he walk away or will he try to grasp his office even after losing?
Well, these are questions currently quite much being discussed.
Claro que a eleição que vem em outubro com Bolsonaro contra Lula.
Like, did Brazil have a really high vaccination rate for COVID?
Yeah.
I feel like I might have heard about that.
The forests, the decimation of the forests, with farmers cultivating what would have been a natural habitat, so losing the habitat.
The prior president coming back to run against Bolsonaro, and it seems like somewhat of a similar situation, political situation to the United States.
Like maybe forest fires or something.
What Brazilian foods do you know?
Oh my gosh, faro. Isn't it called faro?
Farofa?
Farofa. It would begin with an F.
It was December, and it was very, very hot. We were in Rio. And what I remember is walking down any commercial street and buying one wonderful fruit drink after another.
O churrasco, claro. O churrasco caseiro do Rio é uma maravilha. Por isso que se chama a cidade maravilhosa, eu acho. que vocês comem nas Amazonas? Que é uma sopa que tem folha de mandioca e esta é muito bom quando você está de ressaca.
Não é tacacá.
Isso é.
Isso não é folha de mandioca, isso é folha de jambu.
Feijoadas. I've hosted a feijoada on an island.
Whoa.
And
Did you make the feijoada?
it was all Brazilians. All the Brazilians from Yale.
I'm blanking on the word for a barbecue.
Churrasco.
Yes, it was some of the best meat that I'd ever tasted. So it was diverse.
They have to have fish, right?
They definitely have fish.
So there's got to be something Brazilian that's got a lot of fish.
Your father was recently telling us how he was sick for several days in Brazil.
Yes, the fish oil soup. What was it called?
Dendê oil.
Dendê oil, that's the one.
I just remember being there and just having great dinner after great dinner. One thing that you don't see in the U.S. is that grain that's sometimes served with steak or chicken. I think farofa. I love the farofa dishes. That was something that was just a little twist that you just see, or that I've only seen in Brazil.
Absolutely only in Brazil.